NASA Sport representative on the line as well, Jonathan Case. He's in Huntsville, and he's dialed into the call this morning as well.
Great, wonderful. Well, welcome everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Might as well get started. This is the August 2015 New Mexico Drought Monitoring Workgroup webinar. And even though some folks have already chimed in on saying who they are, let's go around just one more time. Make sure we get everybody on the phone and the weather service. So this is Dave Dubois over in Las Cruces, and just go ahead and announce yourself and where you work.
Raymond Bates of Bureau Reclamation.
Anne-Marie Mathern, USGS in Albuquerque.
Julie Valdez and Molly Magnuson, Office of the State Engineer.
John Case here with NASA Sport in Huntsville, Alabama.
Sorry, this is Chris Romero, NRCS, formerly Chris Haynes there, Dave. Had a last name change a couple months ago.
I'll make that correction.
Yep.
Les Owen, New Mexico Department of Ag.
This is Ryan Lord from NMDA also.
Carl McClellan from Navajo Nation.
All right, anybody else?
Brian Geyer, National Weather Service.
Very good.
Chris White, National Weather Service, and NASA Sport.
All right. Well, welcome, folks. We can get see everybody see the go-to webinar, and Brian has the title slide up. Does anybody have any problems? Guess not. Looks like we're all ready to go. And why don't you go ahead and get started, Brian, on the New Mexico meteorological drought status.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Okay, well, after what was a very active July across widespread areas of New Mexico, August has been a little more disappointing. Unless you live out across the east central and the northeast parts of the state, most locations have pretty much seen the monsoon activity become either very isolated or nil at best. I know here at the Sunport we are around 0.3 of an inch for the month, which is probably, if we don't get much more for the rest of the month, that's going to be falling probably somewhere in the top 10 or 15 driest August. So a little bit disappointing, but it's not over yet, and the last couple Septembers have been really good to us too. So we'll see what we can get through the remainder of the summer. So most areas on the bottom right showing 50 to 70% of normal, and then we've got this area at the northeast just continues to get hammered by precipitation. So I think last time I checked, Clayton was getting close to 30 inches for the year. So that's just really astounding. It's like 250 to 300% of normal for the year. Looking back at July, we can recap the statewide average of all locations that were reporting 150% of normal. So very, very good start to the monsoon. Most areas receiving 3 to 6 inches of precipitation or so, with some isolated lower amounts. And on the bottom right, that you can see how the bullseyes for above normal precipitation stretched pretty much right across central and eastern New Mexico. So we'll just go through here a series of charts going back in time. So here's July. You can see 10th wettest going back to the late 1800s. Statewide precipitation was 3.54 inches, which is just over an inch above normal. So the last few Julys have actually been really good for us, and this one definitely did not disappoint. If we break this down by climate division, on the far left is the 30-day percent of normal. So we can see all climate divisions are at or well above normal for the 30 days. If we go back 90 days, again, we still see good news. Pretty much everybody above normal to almost twice the normal for climate division 1, which is up here in the northwest. And then even back to 180 days, everybody above normal for their climate division. So this definitely lends some truth to why we've seen the majority of the states pull out of drought over the last 6 months. For the calendar year, we are at fourth wettest on record with greater than 4-inch deviation statewide average. So so here up on the far right, you can see where we're at for the year, and you have to go all the way back to 1941 to have a wetter year than this so far. And that was our wettest year on record. So if you look down here just the past couple of years, we've really pulled out of some of those extremely dry starts to the year. For the water year, we are 13th wettest on record. And I believe it's 1998 was the last time we were this wet. So we're sitting here at 137% of normal. Looking back over the past 12 months, so this would be from August of last summer through July, we're 9th wettest on record. For the 24 months, we're 16th wettest on record. So still, statewide averages above normal for the last 2 years. And the majority of that weight is really being carried by the last 12 months or so. So it's been pretty wet, and folks can definitely attest to that just looking out there and seeing how green it is this year. Going back 36 months, we start pulling in some drier conditions from I believe it was 2012. And then going back 48 months here on the bottom, we're pretty dry, but not too bad. But if you go back 60 months, that's when we really pull in more of those exceptionally dry years like 2011, 2012. But overall, conditions are improving for us. Here's a look at the NASA Sport list. Again, we've been showing these in the presentations now for several months, and we recently had those pulled into our software system here, so we're able to display them a little bit better. So here's the deep soil moisture 1 month change. So this is that 0 to 200 centimeter column, valid from yesterday. And we can see conditions in the column quite wet, or wetter than they were last month at this time across a vast portion of eastern New Mexico and along the Continental Divide, and particularly south central New Mexico. And then as Dave and I had discussed offline, there's this area in the southeast that's pretty dry still. It's been a while since there's been any precipitation worth talking about across most of Roosevelt and Chavez and down here into Eddy County. So it's gotten pretty dry down there, and we may want to look at that when we discuss the drought monitor here. And then across the northern part of the state, they did really well in July, and it's been quite dry. So that is definitely reflected in the deeper soil moisture. If we take a look at the 0 to 10 centimeter volumetric soil moisture, so this is real close to the surface. Again, across southeastern parts of the state, it's pretty dry in that top layer, and then also within the Rio Grande Valley and parts of the northwest plateau up around Farmington. And I guess there was a fire last week, the Navajo River fire. I was out of the office, so I was just told about this yesterday, but I guess that corresponded really well with where the soil moisture values have become really dry up in that area. And then the Rio Grande Valley, a lot of folks are probably saying, depending on where you are, like what monsoon. It's, this area, eastern Albuquerque down east of Los Lunas and to the northeast of Bernardo has been really dry for a good portion of July and into August especially. We take a look a little bit deeper, we'll go down to 40 centimeters, and this is the relative soil moisture, so the more the rooting zone. It's pretty much showing the same picture. But some interesting items to note across the eastern plains here, it's actually pretty wet. So some of that moisture that we saw during the previous couple months is infiltrating pretty good down into the lower layers. And then the Continental Divide and southwest New Mexico doing really good with soil moisture. So where did that bring us? Here's the regional drought status on August 20th. You can see the focus for the most significant drought remains across California and the Great Basin. And New Mexico is looking really good. Most of the state just seeing abnormally dry conditions. We'll zoom into New Mexico here and take a closer look. What folks may notice here is there is no darker brown color. And that is the first time that we have not had severe drought in our area since January of 2011. So it's been about 4.5 years now without severe drought. So 13% only left in moderate across the state. And if we look back 3 months ago, generally all areas have improved across western New Mexico, being bumped up one category. So let's see here. The last time there was no moderate drought, November 25th, 2010. And there hasn't been any extreme drought since March 3rd. Does anyone have any questions before we go into the extended outlooks?
Brian, I had a question on the NASA sport slides. What were those little black spots in some of the pictures? Was that missing photography?
Yes, I actually let Chris explain that.
Okay.
We just mapped out the urban areas, although John could go into more details probably about why, but those are just urban areas that have been mapped out. Because you're probably not going to get very realistic soil moisture amounts in those areas.
Yeah,
So, like
this
in
is
real-
John. This is John here.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to clarify that the way the land surface model works, it hard codes the soil properties for urban points. So if you rain, it quickly saturates, and if it quickly dries out, and so it would not really give you a realistic range of values compared to non-urban points.
Okay, thank you.
And so another point, you may also notice like some of the reservoirs are also blacked out. Like here's these dots like Santa Rosa and Conchas and Sumner Lake. So it looks like the lakes are also masked out as well.
Yeah, water points are going to be masked out because it's a land surface model. So not dealing with water points.
Thanks for the question.
Okay, no more questions heard, so we'll go charge forward here through the climate outlooks. And not much of this has really changed since our last meeting. Upper right is the sea surface temperature evolution over the last 3 months. Bottom left is the anomaly for sea surface temperature over the last 3 months. And you can see a very well-defined El Nino signature across the tropical Pacific. So things are panning out as planned, as forecasters and models were predicting here earlier in the year. One of the interesting items is this: we're seeing lots of warm water off the Baja as well, and up the California coast, and I guess they're having some real significant issues with algal blooms affecting water quality and the marine fisheries in those areas. So we'll see how this impacts us as we go through the fall, but having this warm water sitting more closely off the coast to us may in fact actually help us out a little bit more. And then just in the last 4 weeks, looking at some of the anomalies here, we're pushing 2 to 2.5 and even 3 degrees in some cases. Breaking it down by the regions, the main takeaway from this is the Niño 3-4 region, which is this area in the central equatorial Pacific. Since January, we saw kind of a gradual increase, and then just it took off. Now we're here up towards 2.1 degree departure. So impressive, to say the least at this point. And here's the forecaster model consensus. The red bars are the probability for El Nino for each 3-month period, so July, August, September. Green bars are neutral, and blue is La Nina. So, and then the lines are climatology. So essentially the story is it's out there now, 100% chance of El Nino through the summer. But as we get into the autumn and the winter period, it's still 90 to 95% probability of El Nino. So this is a very strong signal for us. The plume, so this is developed from the various models that forecasters are running, and then we've got this pink line here kind of in the middle of the spaghetti that is the CPC consensus, and I know it's a little bit hard to see, but it's running up there between 2 and 2.5 as we go through the autumn and then into the early winter months. So this is looking like it's going to at least be strong for a few of those 3-month periods, but whether it gets that 5 consecutive 3-month period, we'll see, in order for it to be a strong El Nino. So how does that look like it's going to impact our area? This is the Climate Prediction Center Precipitation Outlook for September, and they're drawing this large area of above normal precipitation chances across the Southwest, and this is similar to what we've been seeing. Same deal with the temperature outlook. With the increased moisture and cloud cover, we would expect to see the chances for below normal temperature across a vast portion of our area. And then as we go into the September to November period, pretty much the same story, that bullseye for above normal precip chances across Arizona, western New Mexico. Likewise, below normal temperature chances in their 3-month outlook. And then, as we've been showing the last few meetings, the sneak peek, since we're all interested in what may happen over the winter period, this is actually increased over what they had previously. They've drawn this 50% probability line a little farther north. So the majority of New Mexico is in that darker green. And then they even added some greater than 60% probability of above normal precipitation across Florida. And even into the spring months, we're still looking at that potential for above normal precipitation. The seasonal drought outlook, as you would expect now for that 3-month period, is showing that we expect drought removal across the remainder of New Mexico through that period. So I will end there, hand it back over to Dave, and then we can, I guess, do our discussion here at the end of the remainder of the talks, if you'd like.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Does anyone have any questions for me?
So if we for the soil moisture one, if you guys did it, I haven't done it yet, but compared like the scan, like maybe in Los Lunas with the LIS model, just to get a sense of comparing like in the last few months with maybe last year. Maybe if we haven't, maybe that's something worth doing.
Okay, Dave. Yeah, I haven't done any of that here locally.
Yeah, I was just looking at precip at the co-op station at Los Lunas, and yeah, the first week in July we had a big, let's see, more than 2 inches, almost 3 inches, and then it's been just been fairly slow since then.
Hey, this is John at Sport here. We're hoping that as we mature some of these capabilities in the list, that we can run this verification package that would let us to produce statistics against point soil observations and also look at some time series comparisons. So that would be a little bit down the road, but that's something we're hoping to get implemented as well.
Yeah, that'll be great. Sounds good.
Yeah, and Dave, in our one of the previous meetings, I think it was the May meeting, we showed Deirdre put together some scan graphs for, I believe it was Alcalde, and that's something that I really want to start putting in most of the talks, so that we can look at the trends.
Yeah.
In the actual observations, but it's been a little difficult to put those together due to some availability issues. But yeah, we'll try to get those in some of these other talks.
as we move forward.
Yeah, that's always a good idea. There's not a lot of, there's very few soil moisture measurements out there, so it's worth looking at.
Yeah, this is Chris. I'm at the Huntsville office, and I've had a little bit of experience looking at we have, I can't remember exactly. We have a fair number of scan sites in my area, and I've, just in a kind of a qualitative sense, compared the values there with what I'm seeing in the list. And generally, it's pretty close, but, John could probably speak more to this, but you'd have to be a little bit careful about comparing a point observation to, like a 3 kilometer by 3 kilometer pixel, because, the measurement is right there at one point, but the soil conditions may not be homogeneous across the area, and so it could vary, and from, if you were measuring within, several different spots within a 3 kilometer box. But in general, my sense is that, just again, kind of qualitatively, it measures pretty well in my area in northern Alabama.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. One more thing, we will be eventually, and I don't know the timeline, if John wants to chip in, but at some point in the not too distant future, there will be some percentiles of normal, soil moisture anomalies and things like that available. So I know that they're working on that still right now.
Yeah, we're actually in the process of rolling that out on our webpage as a first order effort, and if you wanted to, you could go to the sport webpage and go to the real-time data land information system, and right now we have we're kind of prototyping it. It's up there now, but we have these calendar pages of graphics, and we're adding the percentiles. So I don't know if you're there at the web browser now, Chris, but you could go to August 24th yesterday, and there's an int RSM percentile up there now, and you could bring that up. It's first the full CONUS, but we're going to have geographical zooms to include the southwestern U.S., and eventually we'll roll this product into the data feed that the Weather Service offices get.
Okay, and this is on the sport page now.
Yeah, if you just go right to the real-time data land information system, and then the CONUS domain selection.
Okay.
And let me know if you're there, and you just go to the pull down menu for yesterday, the 24th, okay. And then you can.
Well, I can't right now, but I will later.
Okay.
Yeah, me and Brian will look at that later.
All right, sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of
thanks for letting me.
A lot of information there. So I'll have to figure out what I'm looking at. So maybe offline we can talk.
We'll definitely need to make a mini training. We call it micro training on just this particular product, because we ran over a 30-year climatology of soil moisture, and then what we're doing is we're looking at every single day. We're going to query every grid point and then put it into where in this distribution of over 30 years of data does this lie, and then we've color-coded it according to proxy percentiles, so you could get a quick glance and compare it to, the proxies for the different drought monitor categories as well. So it's a pretty exciting product.
Yeah, looks great. I'm looking forward to looking at this more.
I'm just curious, as far as water off and stuff, what about a short-term forecast? You see the moisture moving back in, where it will help us on the river or something? Hello?
Hey.
So who was that question directed to?
The Weather Service, just curious.
Okay.
Oh, it looks like today, tomorrow, and maybe Thursday, we've got some moisture return, and it looks likely that at least the mountains will see some pretty good precipitation. The Weather Prediction Center up in Silver Spring has, we've got basin average precipitation amounts around 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch across central and western areas, with maybe some localized amounts of 1 inch to 1.5 inches. But then it looks like it's going to dry out again. And temperatures are pretty warm too, definitely above normal. So we've got a short period here where we can pick up some more rainfall, and then it may dry out again.
Okay. Well, the safe air is coming, so maybe we'll bring the rain with.
All right. Good discussion.
Thank you.
Any more questions on the forecast and looking at the data? I think that's a good. We're good with that. Okay. Moving on to the agenda. Going on to the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation with Raymond Abeta.
Hello. I'll start on the Rio Grande for storages. Reservoir Petoro is 18,469. Let's see, Heron is off right now. The system's not working or reporting. Alvado is 108,633. Abiquiu 120,979. Coach T 46,944. Elfin Butte 207,928. Caballo 34,126. Let's see here on the Pecos. Santa Rosa is 101,460. Sumner 33,982. And Brantley is 57,975. On the Rio Grande, we've done good. We've had a continuous river this whole season. We haven't had any drying. Of course, that may be coming to a halt there. That's why I was asking about the rain. The rain has really, really helped us out quite a bit. And of course, the runoff went well into the season, which we have not had in years. So we have not had a continuous river this far into the season in a long, long time. But we are using our supplemental water for that, and we are starting to cut back on that. And the district's actually starting to release water from storage now, which they haven't had to do either for the majority of the season. They just started the last couple of weeks as far as stored water. So we're cutting back on the supplemental, and let the rains come and fatten the river up again. We'll probably start seeing a little bit of drying in the lower reach of the Rio Grande between below Santa Casia, maybe in the Sleta area, but we'll see what the weather does. And the Pecos, we have had also a continuous river the whole season. We've had a lot of good rains in that area. We've had a few releases already from Santa Rosa and Sumner to get rid of some of the floodwaters and make more room. But we just did that again a couple of weeks ago, and Santa Rosa was already above 100,000 again. So keeps getting replenished back. And also Brantley, if you all remember the last two falls, we've had some really, really big rain events down in the southern Pecos area, and put a lot of water in Brantley. And Red Bluff also got so much they weren't able to take it. So we held on to it for about a year now, and the last 3 weeks or so we've been releasing finally this floodwater down to Red Bluff. So see, the storage, we've probably released over 20 to 30,000 so far from storage, and we still have just a little ways more to go, about 17,000 acre feet to go, and we'll see if we don't sooner get that out that we have another rain event this fall. Let's see what happens. But otherwise, like I said, continuous flows. We still have the majority of the supplemental water that we can still use. We have our lawn pumps we can still use. We just haven't had to augment the flows. Things have been well. This is a nice reprieve. So we'll definitely take this. Hopefully we'll have the same again next year. That's about all I have unless anyone has questions. All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so next on the agenda, unless there's questions, is Chris Romero with NRCS. Do we have? Go ahead, Chris.
Hey guys, how are you? Yeah, I'll apologize. I don't have any slides, and I'm just getting caught
Okay.
up. I had surgery about 2 weeks ago, and to put me back together for snow season, and I'm getting caught up. So
Okay, no problem.
I don't have any slides or anything, but my season really starts around December, January. That's when we do the first surveys. But everything you just said about El Nino, I'm really expecting a good year. I saw a report estimating about 154 inches at Chama this year, and I think the last time we saw anything like that was about 2009, 2010. So I'm really expecting to have my work cut out for me in the northern mountains this season, and we could really use anything in the west over in the Zuni Blue Water area where it was bare ground pretty much after about February of last year. So any moisture is good, and especially with the predicted below normal temperatures and above average precip, I really have got my fingers crossed for a good year starting sometime around January and February. And we'll keep doing these reports once we get into snow season, and I'll let everybody know exactly how we're doing. With my annual, or not my annual, but my monthly summaries. But like I said, just getting caught up. So if anybody has any specific questions about the program or anything, you can go ahead and ask, and I'd entertain to answer any of them.
Any questions for Chris? Sounds like we're happy.
Okay, yeah, and I would add, I heard people mentioning, the scan sites.
Yeah.
I've been putting up, and there's already some that exist, but they're remote, pretty basic weather stations, but they've got soil moisture sensors as well. I put one up out in the Clovis, Portales area earlier in the summer, and then there's a couple. They're scattered around the state. But the only problem is I have to go out to them to extract the data, and I plug into it, and then I pull all that information. It's about a year's worth of data that it'll hold, and then I come back and put it together. So there is a package so that I can access it remotely and use a cell service with them, but it's quite pricey. We're trying to get funding to put that on all of them so that I don't have to actually go out to all the sites, because it takes an entire day to drive out there and pull it and come back at least. So, that's a project in the works.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll give you a call offline, because that's one of the things we're trying to get is more points, even though maybe a month after the fact or several months, it's still worth looking at to understand what goes on. And then this is an NRCS effort.
Yeah, it's an NRCS program. I think I'm really the only one putting them up. They're tiny. They take about 2 days for me to put up, but some of them are really out there, and it takes an entire day or two to even get out to them. And I just plug into it, and it'll hold a year's worth of information. So
nice.
Even if it's a little late, it's all there.
Very nice. Anything up in the Northwest? In either McKinley, San Juan, Rio Arriba area?
No, I don't think so, unless my predecessor Wayne put any out there that I'm not aware of. But the ones I've been out to are at there's Armanderis Ranch down south by Elephant Butte. That one's pretty isolated. There's a couple out by Grants. I put one in Portales, and then I'm looking to put some out down south by Socorro.
Nice. Okay, well, I'll follow up with you on that.
You bet.
All right, any other questions for Chris? Okay, I think we're good.
No, right?
Yes. All right. All right, let's move on to the agenda and USGS with Anne Marie.
Okay, good morning. The USGS report, as I say every time, is based on 21 stream gauges from river basins that are relatively unmanaged. So our best effort at representing natural flows. Normal for this report is defined at 90 to 110% of historical average. Above that is above normal, less than 90% is below normal. If you look at the 21 stations that are included in this report, for the month of July, 14 of the 21 stations have at or above average flow compared to the historical averages. The high was Poneal Creek near Cimarron, which is at 751% of historical average. And that's because they had a series of pretty high flows over the last 3 months, so that has really brought up that average according to what we usually see there. The low is Delaware River at Red Bluff, which is about 63% of historical average, but of course is much higher than what we've been seeing as our lows for quite a while now. And median is about 96% for those 21 gauges. To look at them specifically by basin, San Juan River Basin, represented by the Animas River at Farmington, that's number 19 in the table, and that's at 112% of average. Upper Rio Grande tributaries, numbers 7 through 12 on the table, are at 66 to 103% of average. And the Jemez River at Jemez, number 13, is at 83% of historical average. Also, the Upper Rio Grande main stem, represented by the Rio Grande at Taos Junction Bridge, is at 95% of average. The Canadian River Basin, the tributaries in Colfax County, that's numbers 1, 2, and 3, range from 91 to 751% of average. That contains Poneal Creek that I mentioned earlier. The tributaries in Mora County, numbers 5 and 6, are 88 to 96% of average, and the main stem, which is number 4, is about 74% of historic average. In the Upper Pecos Basin in San Miguel County, numbers 14 and 15, Pecos River at Pecos is at 97% of average, and Gallinas at Montezuma is at 126%. The Lower Pecos in Otero and Eddy counties, gauges 16, 17, and 18, have stream flow conditions that range from 63 to 143% of average. The last two gauges in the Gila Basin in Grant County, that's sites 21 and 22, Mogollon Creek is at 84% of average, and the Gila River at Red Rock is at 86% of historical average. And that's it for the month of July, unless there are any questions. Okay, thank you.
Much appreciated, Anne Marie. All right. And if there is no questions, we can move on to the Office of the State Engineer report, and I think we have Molly or Julie on the call.
Hi, both Molly and I are here. I'll go ahead and do the presentation today.
Great.
Okay, so all our data is from the US ACE for current storage, and we retrieved that data yesterday, and for the previous month was July 27th. Except for we utilized USGS data from August 24th, and for Heron we utilized the NRC data just for current data from August 1st. Next slide, please. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you all there?
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. It got quiet.
It's stuck.
Can you change the slide, Brian? Thank you. And we can just skip this. This is just kind of tells us The green dotted line is previous month, the dark blue is current storage, the yellow in the back is last year's, and the red line is the average. So the first reservoir we're going to take a look at, I'm not going to go over the numbers since Raymond just did so, but I'll just kind of give you the difference from last month to last year. So in comparison to Navajo from last month, it's down approximately 42,000 acre-feet, and from last year we're above approximately 287,000 acre-feet. So overall, Navajo is doing pretty well. Next slide. Ute Reservoir is up approximately 24,000 acre-feet, and from last year it's up 28,000 acre-feet. So that one is well above the average. Santa Rosa is also up from last month 4,000 acre-feet, and from last year 48,000 acre-feet, but still you know, it's well above the average. So we're doing really well in Santa Rosa. Sumner, it's up about 3,000 acre-feet, but in comparison to last year, it's down about 12,000 acre-feet. And I'm not sure if that was due to the release. I can't recall what Raymond said on that one. Brantley is actually doing pretty good in comparison from last year. It's up 24,000 acre-feet, but as Raymond mentioned, since they are releasing, it is down 12,000 from last month, so it does show reflecting that they're releasing that water. Heron Lake, as of August 1st, they are down approximately 1,600 acre-feet, but doing a lot better than last year because they're up approximately 62,000 acre-feet. So we are in a much better shape than we were last year at this time up north. Alvado Lake, in comparison to last month, we're down approximately 6,000 acre-feet, but comparison to last year, we're up 45,000 acre-feet. We're still below average, but it looks like, you know, the reservoirs are getting better. Let's see, the next one is Abiquiu. Abiquiu, not much change from last month, and from last year we're down about 5,000 acre-feet, still well below the average. I think, you know, if we get the good snowpack next spring, we'll see a better numbers there. Elephant Butte, compared to last month, we're down 82,000 acre-feet. Last year, we're doing better. We're up 77,000 acre-feet. But that one's going to take so long to recover because of the average. And the last one we have is Caballo. Caballo is up from last month 13,000 acre-feet, and from last year 700 acre-feet. And the last slide is just a summary of that. Actually, just shows these comparisons, current last year and the average, and then the previous month. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Other than that, that's our presentation for this month.
Great, thanks, Julie. Any last questions for Julie before we move on? Alrighty, good. Thank you again. And so I think we've got both Les and Ryan on the call with the New Mexico Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
I really don't have much of a report. I sent out the NAS crop project. Can't speak either. crop progress reports. Not much difference in there from the last several. It's generally a pretty good year. Of course, and I think one thing, and I know we've discussed this before, and I don't know how to get around it, but on the drought monitor map that Doñana County is indicating that there's no drought within the county, just abnormally dry when the irrigation district down there is only has delivered a 30% of allotment is a troubling thing, and I don't have the answers of how to deal with it when the rest of the county rangeland wise is well above average rainfall and things are looking good. I just thought I would throw that little tidbit out there again for any further discussion, but beyond that, if anybody has any questions related to how things are going in the agricultural world, I'd be happy to try and answer them. Other than that, I really don't have much more.
Les, that's kind of one of the issues we've been dealing with the drought monitor is there's the dynamic range of the system is much greater than designed of how the drought monitor is designed, because we could have drought, even though we have 300% of average rain, we could still have drought impacts in an area because it relies on another area in another state.
Certainly.
So I totally understand, and that's something we'll have to explain to folks when we do present these maps to folks. Is a lot of what the drought monitor relies on is a little heavier weighted toward precipitation and soil moisture rather than surface water from the high mountain. Not to say that we're not using that. I think we would have been out of all drought if we relied totally on precip. We would have been out of drought early in the year. We would have wiped it. Maybe the state would have been white. But since we do have that issue with low snowpack for multiple years, we've been hanging on to the D1 and we've released it just to the D0 as much as we can, and I think we don't want to release that at least the D0 until we see any changes in the surface water, and I think they allow each state to manage it as much as we can in terms of not doing things according to the drought author. And I don't think any of the drought author is on the call. I think Anthony Artusia is the drought author this week. But so I just wanted to just say that again, reiterate that, just so that if you get questions, you know how to handle them, or if you want, you can have them contact me or Brian. We both understand really well, at least for the most part, how to handle drought monitor.
Yeah, and Dave, I think that this is Brian at the Weather Service. That YouTube video that the Colorado Water Sciences Center put together was really informative, and it did address that issue that you're discussing too.
Yeah,
that might be something worth sharing.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll circulate that around so folks, just folks on this call can get a good sense, and they did a good job with the graphics and laying it out in 10 minutes or so. So any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda. I didn't know if Susan Rich is on the call. Are you on, Susan? Okay, I don't think we can catch up with her after the call and see if what's going on with forestry. And I didn't hear if anybody from Farm Service Agency is on the call either. Nope, I didn't think so. Alrighty, we move on to is any other topics of discussion. clarifications and discussion of what we want to say to the drought author for this week. Just relating to the discussion that Brian and I had about the Southeast, I think that's an area I agree to take a look at a little more. I just looked at Texas recommendations, and they haven't moved to make any changes in Texas yet. Not in a few places in central Texas, but nothing immediate along the border. And I think I saw the same thing with Arizona, on the west side. So, but I think it deserves to look at the area around Curry Roosevelt County. I think the lists output at the different soil depths, I think those were the two areas that I thought by eyeball looking at were fairly dry. Yeah. And then even in parts of Lee County as well. So any other comments on that? I think we're good. Everybody still there?
Still here.
Okay, just to double checking.
I agree with that too.
Okay.
Pretty
All right.
quiet group today, Dave.
Yeah. It's one of those Tuesdays, I guess.
We're all ready for more rain.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
That's what we're waiting for.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Well,
this is Ollie Reed at the Albuquerque Journal. Actually, I had a question. I tried to ask you earlier, but I think I must have been on mute. This is for Raymond, a beta. Raymond, I didn't catch the level at Elephant Butte. Could you give me that again?
Sure. Let me get to where I have my data. Elephant Butte, 207,928.
207,928. Thank you so much.
You got Caballo?
Give me that again. I want to make sure I got it right.
Yeah, it's 34,126.
34,126. Yeah, I had that. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Raymond, do you know when they're going to turn off the river at Caballo?
Below Elephant Butte?
Yeah, below.
Below, go ahead.
Yeah.
Below Caballo? I'm not sure yet. I haven't heard.
Okay.
They're just going as long as they can, and then I think they've extended their season because of all the water that's been going into Elephant Butte. The Opuetico ran quite a bit. The Salado is running. Some of those other arroyos down there, Abo, and all those were running. So all that just goes straight into Elephant Butte. And, of course, all the Rio Grande flows that we've been getting, that the district can't use, and, it's above their demand, and just goes on downstream to Elephant Butte. So they, I think, probably extended their season a bit.
That's wonderful. That's great news.
Yeah, it is. I mean, unfortunately, it's going to take some banner years back to back to get Elephant Butte back to 2 million. That's what I saw in the early 80s. Those big banner years we had, and that's what finally brought the level back up. But hopefully, it's an Neo thing will keep up.
Yeah. Well.
But I think they're just going to go as long as they can, Dave.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought if they knew or not. Alrighty, any other questions before we decide on the next call? So we'll go ahead and schedule the next drought monitor work group for September 22nd at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And if there's any other things that you want to circulate around, feel free. Email them to myself or Brian, and we can send it out. And I'll go ahead and send out that YouTube video. I think everybody on this call should listen to that because it's entertaining and very informative. So very good. All right, I think that's it for this month, and we're right at almost 10:59 according to my computer. So thanks everybody for contributing, and I appreciate everybody who presented and hanging in there. And hope we get some rain.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks, Dave.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.